Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News today. It is March 9th, and it is 11:49 in the morning, still over here in the West Coast time. East Coast time, it is, I believe, almost 3 o'clock in the evening. Today, the broadcast, it is about El Menchos aftermath. There's a lot of theories and a lot of disinformation. My God, there were a lot of people that they entered the premises of this wanted serial psychopath that it was in Mencho, that they were not even Mexican born, and they do not understand what us, the Mexican people, what we have been suffering. These are foreigners that they entered and they do their journalism, and then sometimes they completely disinform of what is actually the circumstance of what is actually happening in our country without the sensitivity of the precautions of our people, because everything that you're informing has to be based on the reality of what is actually happening in our country. The aftermath, what happened? We did a coverage on this Mencho situation. I think that it was basically complete. We went to one of the funerals of one of the fallen soldiers in Guadalajara. We arrived in Guadalajara. There were 4 burned vehicles. We went to one of the places where these vehicles was burned in front of an elementary school. Still, the aftermath after, the extraction and the supposedly the detention, and then later on he passed away. El Mencho, Nemesio Ceguera Cervantes, El Mencho, and after that we went to Tapalpa. 6:30 in the evening, we had a conference, with the mayor of Tapalpa. We interviewed the mayor of Tapalpa, talking about the circumstances of what Tapalpa represents to the people of Jalisco. This is not a cartel, magical town. He was explaining this is a town that is presumptively, maintained out of tourism, of international tourism and national tourism. And also, not only that, he explained that, what it is currently going on in the media, there's a lot of disinformation. And what's happening before on this particular site, it is not just one particular situation with Nemesio Ceguera. The town people, they knew that something was not right on this particular area, that it was a countryside where he lived on a compound with more than 10 houses. Or he did not live there. That was his vacation site. Let me just explain. And each house, if you go and investigate, the value of each house was going between 15 to 20 million to 25 million pesos. You're talking about roughly 1.2, 1.3, 1.5 million dollars each house. This compound where he was hiding, or where he was resting, whatever you want to call it, had 10 houses. And we were the only ones who stayed there until like 4 o'clock in the evening. There were other local people that they entered, and other independent journalists, and there was a couple of influencers that they went in there. But we stayed there for like hours. As a matter of fact, I went all the way up, and then I came down because I thought that those houses that they were all the way up to the runaround was not even the case. And then I went back down again, and they told me, no, it was that house. I go up again. We stayed there for like 3 to 4 hours. After everybody left, I did the homework to go inside of every single house. Nobody did that. I went to every single house and I entered every single home. The majority of the homes, they had broken windows. As a matter of fact, a lot of the people are asking, Oscar, you're carrying all these 50 caliber bullet casings, why there was no holes? Because that was not a confrontation zone. That was not the confrontation area. The confrontation area was down the hill. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of debris coming up of a confrontation in a burned vehicle in the middle of these roads. They are completely roads with rocks, and it's really difficult to get to the sierra, to the top of the mountain. That was the area of the confrontation zone with the armed security of El Mencho and also the authorities of Mexico. In these houses, it was where he was safeguarding these 50 caliber casings, particularly, investigating and asking around and ultimately looking at the situation. It was just these people shooting randomly and shooting desperately to protect El Mencho so he can get away through to the back part of the mountain on a razor. Now, the title of this show, it is El Menchos Aftermath. Now, I want to emphasize on a couple of things that a lot of these people that they went to this compound, they don't emphasize it. You get to understand that they only care about the main news. They don't care about our people. And we as Mexicans, we understand the complete, impact on the economy of these places and the impact that it has on our people because of the events that they took place. We did not only go to Tapapa, we also went to Vallarta. And we recorded the whole impact that it had on the burning of vehicles. There was a union of semi-truck drivers that released a statement that on that Sunday alone, they burned more than 500 semi-trucks. One Sunday, 500 semi-trucks. It tells you the level of aggression of these people. But more than that, the ages of these kids. In the part of Vallarta, what the hell happened to the municipal police? Where were you guys? These kids were from the ages of 15 to 18. These are the kids that are being recruited by the organized crime in the cartel. And these are the ones that they were burning automobiles and burning convenience stores like Oxxos. And the municipal police was nowhere to be seen. It's a lot of, it tells a lot about how much they were bought, how much everybody's corruptively involved, that this situation could easily be de-escalated immediately by these kids to be detained and stopped, arrested, and then investigated and immediately close the premises. And not only that, but also, immensely, they could have been, this situation could have been de-escalated. You have statements from locals saying the ones that they were burning automobiles and the ones that they were burning businesses, they were young kids. Why this was not stopped? Why the municipal police of Vallarta did not do the job? And it tells you a lot because of the way that the president of Mexico was asked on our morning conference, why this premises where El Mencho was located, why you let all these press people in there? I was one of them. A lot of people were saying, Oscar, you're contaminating the scene. You're grabbing casings and 50 caliber casings, and you're doing all of this stuff. Yes, that's why I'm doing it. To show the world and to show our government of Mexico how inefficient and how corruptively they are involved and how they're letting this happen. Why the premises of where El Mencho was located, these 3 safe houses that I believe the whole compound, he was the owner of the whole compound, but why it is still open? Why they're letting everybody in, everybody walk in where there was medicine that potentially, and they say that he was, that he was sick, and all this house that I was in, it was where potentially he was located and he was sick. And then you have all these 50 caliber casings or these R15 casings, and we're grabbing them, and I'm grabbing them, and I'm taking a picture with them because I wanted to show this is evidence and why you guys are not safeguarding this place. It's ridiculous. Stupid. That compound shouldn't be open to nobody. Should be safeguarded, not even by the National Guard and by local authorities of the Puebla, municipal authorities of Jalisco. Why was not safeguarded? Why is still open? That question was asked to the Mexican president. Of course, she doesn't know anything anymore. She completely denies and she completely deflects every single situation that is being asked about this. She says, oh, that's the obligation of the fiscal general of the republic, of the fiscal general of the state, of Jalisco. That's not my response. Excuse me, ma'am. The most mercenary psychopath drug lord was just arrested and detained, and then he passed away, quote unquote, and he was operating in your country, and he killed hundreds of thousands of Mexicans, and you're saying to everybody, that's the obligation of the fiscal general of the state. For God's sake, this gets worse and worse every day. And this is why I went over there and grabbed the evidence. So I can say to everybody, look how ridiculous our government is. Look how inefficient I shouldn't be grabbing these casings. I shouldn't be around these casings. I shouldn't be around this area. I shouldn't have the ability to go in and out, but I have the ability to do so because there's no authority right here to safeguard nothing. There is no authority to close the premises. There is nothing. And because of what? Because there was not enough evidence? You got to be kidding me. That was the place that he was potentially being staying at. And that was the place that it was a massive shooting on top of the mountain. Why this place was not safeguarded? Why this place was open to everybody to come in like it was a tourist spot? Incredible. First video that I'm going to put. There was a mini documentary that we released on Real America's Voice News about entering the premises. But there's another one that I made about the tourism inside of Vallarta in the aftermath. And what these kids, these young kids, these 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, what they were trying to do. Ladies and gentlemen, it was not to burn businesses only. It was not to burn vehicles. It was to hurt civilians. These kids, they were burning businesses in the middle of a gas station. Their mindset was to create a massive explosion to hurt civilians. These kids were burning local businesses on the bottom floor, and on top you had an apartment complex. What was their motive? To hurt civilians. Inevitably, their number one purpose, it was to hurt civilians. It was not only to create a big, dramatic, arsony message to the world. No, it was to hurt civilians. And we did the homework to go to Vallarta to show everybody the aftermath of what happened and how our country is suffering right now, because the Secretary of Tourism, it is nowhere to be seen. Everybody's focused, oh yeah, and Menchos coffin, oh yeah, I went in there and I took a picture. I went in there and I was, yeah, we understand. You're going back now to your country, and then you're going to do your news, and you're going to forget about us. Meanwhile, we stay with the problem. All the time it's like that. This is what our people are suffering right now. The local people from Vallarta, the magical town of Tapalpa, the part of Jalisco, these little towns are suffering because of the economical impact. Our government is so inefficient. It is so irresponsible. Okay, you did an extraction and you detained El Mencho, but what is the collateral damage that you have done? How are you going to fix that collateral damage? There was a war scene on this mountain. How are you going to fix that? You bring the Secretary of Tourism, you start bringing artists, you start, constructing and making all this, promotion that this is a beautiful place, that this is a magical place. Come on over here. You're completely affected. Everybody. And you're not taking responsibility to bring it back. Is it completely irresponsible? Yes, it is. Our government is completely irresponsible. And lastly, before I end this show, I will tell you why our government is completely irresponsible. Mexicans that we live in Mexico, that we were born in Mexico, we know. Not that we were born abroad or we live somewhere else. No, the ones that we're living this crisis right now, the ones that we were born and raised over here, we understand how they are slapping us in the face. And the most incredible thing is that the Shield of Americas, that it was recently made by the President of the United States of America in aligning with presidents of Central and South America to attack the organized crime and to attack these criminal organizations is something that never has been done in history. And I will give my opinion on that before ending the show. This is the aftermath in Vallarta. 10-minute video. Hope you enjoy. Eight days ago, this tourist spot, one of the most beautiful beaches and beautiful places to vacation in the world, was a terrorist site.
Quemaron Costco. verga, puras 4 letras, hijos de puta madre, a la verga.
On the road, on the toll road, in direction to Puerto Vallarta, coming from Tequila and also to Tepic, you can actually see some debris on the road of the burning cars that they were executed and they were burned on Sunday. More than 500 tractor trailers were burned on Sunday, according to a transportation company that informed to the population that more than 500 semi-trucks were burned. So you actually see the government right now clearing the roads, cleaning the roads. You actually see federal personnel cleaning the roads so you can have a normal activity back again in Puerto Vallarta. As the city is trying to go back to normal, the authorities of Mexico have been enormously deployed to the whole city of Vallarta, a thing that we did not see last week, a black wave of smoke due to the burning of businesses.
Horacio Urrutia, pues mire, ahí tenemos los hechos,
Para usted.
un caos,
Y para usted.
pues también mire, gastando diario,
¿Qué es lo que le está implicando a usted?
pues todo lo que está dañado, todo.
Más o menos cuánto representa para usted la pérdida.
Ni idea tengo todavía,
No sabe
no
cuánto
tengo
debe
idea,
estar.
no, ¿para qué le voy a echar mentiras?
There was a speculation that the ones that they were burning the automobiles were young kids by the ages of 15, 16, 17, and 18 years of age. Was this a theory or was this reality? One of the waiters on a famous hotel tells us the story about these statements of different people.
Mi nombre es Juan Carlos Peña Monteón y trabajo de mesero en Mango Beach Club.
Se habla de que todos los que estaban quemando carros eran jovencitos, eran chamaquitos y que no les importaba, que aventaban lumbre en los carros. ¿Es verdad eso?
Claro, era verdad. Yo vivo cerca de un Oxxo, de hecho, y me tocó ver cómo bajaban chicos con encapuchados. ¿Qué te gusta? De entre menos de 18 años, bajando, diciendo cosas, o sea, no puedo pronunciar muy bien nada, pero llegaban prácticamente, bajaban a las personas y quemaban.
According by statements of a transportation union company of semi-trucks in the part of Jalisco, they have informed that on that Sunday of these terrorist attacks, more than 500 semi-trucks were burned on this specific state. Look at the level of violence that they created on this day. On the left side, you have a gas station. In the middle, you have a convenience store. And also you have a food truck. And on the right, you have a gasoline also station. They did not want it to burn the businesses. They wanted the gas stations to be blown up. Imagine, we are just so close to these tourist spots, so close to the beach, so close to these tourist areas. All of this area was filled with United States citizens. What was the purpose of these narco terrorists and these mercenary domestic terrorists to burn these kind of stations? The whole purpose, it was to not only hurt local businesses, burn vehicles, but also the purpose was to hurt civilians, and not only Mexican citizens, but also tourists. As I just mentioned in the last video, that we're burning consistently these stores that are called Oxxo. But look how dangerous this was. They burned this convenience store, Oxxo, but on top of it, you have apartment complexes that they were burning also. These domestic terrorists, these cartel members of the terrorist organization CJNG, they did not only wanted to burn businesses, burn vehicles, and burn semi-trucks, and completely affect the economy and shut down a city, but also they were threatening to burn and hurt people and actually do critical damage and serious damage to innocent civilians. on the heart of Puerto Vallarta and the tourist strip. You have local workers that they are now going back on the weekends. And they explain how it was that day and if the economy is going back to normal.
Pues obviamente no pudimos trabajar, pero siéndote honesta, el martes yo creo que la gente lo que quería era salir y se vio mucho movimiento desde el martes, ¿eh?
¿Te sientes ya más cómoda de que haya llegado refuerzo de seguridad o algo así aquí a la ciudad?
Pues honestamente yo esperaba que se vieran el día de lo que pasó, no un día después.
¿Te ha afectado en tu trabajo esto?
La verdad un poco, pero este fin de semana se vio un poquito más de gente, la verdad. El ambiente no se siente tan pesado como ese día se sentía no sé cómo explicarte que hoy no quería ni asomarte a la ventana.
Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. We're standing right here at the main pier in Puerto Vallarta as things are drifting back to normal. Just 1 week ago, 8 days ago, let's say it like it is, this was a horror movie. They CJNG cartel sicarios and also members, they brought terror to this epicenter right here in Puerto Vallarta. Now the Marine has been deployed, National Guardsmen have been deployed, and also armed soldiers have come to the rescue right here as a vessel arrived with more than 103 infantrymen and tactical pickup trucks. What it tells you is that the government of Mexico realizes that Puerto Vallarta is one of the epicenters of tourism around the whole globe, and things need to be back to normal. This is a message to the Secretary of Tourism of Mexico and also to the Secretary of Government. We need the international effort to be brought to Puerto Vallarta and everything to get back to where it was 8 days ago. This was an epicenter of a crisis, an epicenter of terror. 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds were terrorizing the citizens by burning vehicles, burning businesses, not only that, burning semi-trucks in the middle of the road, closing the roads as they were threatening not only the Mexican civilians, but also international tourists. You can see the helicopter flying sometimes on the side of the beach, trying to tell the citizens everything, it is okay. Everything is going to go back to normal. But with this is the collateral effect, bringing so much military, so much armed forces. It has created an atmosphere of uncertainty of what is going to happen here in the near future, in the next incoming days, as workers and also businessmen and local Vallartenses are trying to bring everything back to normal. They're fighting to bring the economy back to where it was. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News from the epicenter in Vallarta, Mexico. Stay safe. The economy of Puerto Vallarta between the years of 2024 and 2025 relies heavily on tourism. Recent estimates show that the annual economic impact generated by the city, it is between 1.8 and 2.4 billion dollars. It is extremely important that the economy and tourism goes back to normal to one of the most beautiful cities in the world, as it is Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News, reporting from Puerto Vallarta. Stay safe. That was our report about the aftermath in the city of Vallarta. And I think that it was extremely important for everybody to understand things are going back to normal. The airport is going back to normal in Guadalajara. The airport is back to normal in Puerto Vallarta. Things are walking back to normal. The thing about it that I signalize on this, it is where's the municipal authorities? You know, why you were nowhere to be seen when these recent events happen. 1, 2, where's the Secretary of Tourism of Mexico? 3, where's the Secretary of Government to basically help these cities and these communities that they have been greatly affected by this, extraction and this, situation of terror that happened on this day. Now, there has been multiple reports of people going into Menchos compound. This is our report. Now, before I explain and before I pass on this video, this mini documentary was shown on Real America's Voice News. And I want to add to this. We arrived to Tapalpa one day before we went into Menchos compound, and we knew how to get there because we talked to the mayor. And the mayor basically told us it is, in some places, it is really unsafe. I don't know if there's authorities there safeguarding the place. And he's the mayor. Gotta be kidding me. And I don't blame him. He's a good guy, but he's is, his power exceeds to one particular limit. He only wants his magical town to go back to normal, to have tourism. It is not his fault of what happened. What locals are telling us on this particular countryside, that it was particularly speculated that El Mencho owned all these 10 houses. It is that this particular place, all the time, the locals have seen really famous artists and really famous, traditional group artists from our country of Mexico and music artists have gone to this particular place, and they have closed the whole premises, which tells you that a lot of these people have, greatly been involved in celebrating this man, that he was a psychopath, complete psychopath. There was a place that I, entering the 3 houses and being around that place, it was really a heavy energy. But one of the things that catch my eye, it is the level of remorse of a sicario. And that tells me how God is so powerful still when you are a sicario. And why I say that? Because on top of one of these rooms, there were little patches with the figures of the Virgin Mary and Jesus. And these people, psychopaths, crazy people, that they were dedicated to killing, extracting, kidnapping, defending a psychopath, that it was bringing terror in all types of ways, dismembering bodies, decapitating people. They have their patches of Jesus and praying to Jesus. This is the power of God right now. And this is really important that we show it. Why? Because even God, in the most particular places that you think that he is not there, he's there. And he showed me that even a sicario, this potential, or this security man, that it was holding a 50 caliber weapon or an R-15, ready to kill the good National Guardsmen of our country of Mexico, still in his mind, he was repenting every day for what he was doing. Possibly he was forced to be on that place, and he was not forced. That was the only way of living that he had. But he had this, on the back of his mind, always, it was this thing that it was existing, and it was this fear of God, of what he was doing. And that tells me a lot about the power that we have still over the evil that coexists in our country of Mexico. This is the mini documentary that we showed last week on Real America's Voice News of our trip to El Menchos compound. 10 minutes.
And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. Very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. We saw that yesterday.
You can actually find debris of the bullet casings of the confrontation. Look at this. It tells you the level of the confrontation that happened on that day on this specific road. You can still find casings on the road. This is the road that takes you to where the epicenter of the confrontation was at. And this is evidence. You can see casings and bullet casings of what happened on that day on Saturday. It looks like there was a burned automobile right here. And there, by the looks of the evidence, it looks like it was a confrontation zone. This is on our way to the epicenter of the extraction on Nemesio Ceguera El Mencho. This is the private facility where El Mencho was located with his whole convoy. It is a countryside that reserves around 10 really expensive homes, really expensive residents that is located. Now it is closed, completely locked down. There's nobody in the office right here, nobody inside, and apparently nobody inside of this premises. Let's walk inside. Oscar Blue for Real America's Boys News. Amazing footage. This is where El Mencho got captured. He had 3 security houses. Exclusive area, extremely exclusive area, really wealthy people. This was the runaround. It was owned by him. That's one of the security houses. That's another one down there. And here it is another one. So he was safeguarded the whole top part of this community. Let's go inside so you guys can understand how he was living and ultimately how he got out immediately, and then later on he was captured. You can actually see some debris of confrontations and casings on the floor when the confrontation happened. So this is one of the houses. It is open. You can actually see a Ford Bronco, late model, no license plates, outside of the house. Actually see some debris right here. It's closed, it's locked. Wow, look at this. You actually see some laser bore cider, some debris of a holster. Let's walk inside the house. Lights are still on. So you see some stuff right here on the floor. It seems like they got out immediately after all the confrontation happened. Look at this mess. You see things on the kitchen. So you have some medication right here on the floor. A lot of medication on the floor. You see some clothing, like they immediately got out. So you can actually see that they immediately got out. They were surprised. It was an ambush. And by the way that it looks of it, they were completely shocked of what they had coming. The most amazing thing is that they have all the paperwork and the security. It was all well paid off. And some medicine on the floor that looks like somebody was sick. The speculation is that El Mencho was sick, so we don't know if these medicines were for or were from him. But the speculation was strong that he was extremely sick, and possibly these medicines were part of his sickness, or they were for him. Let's go to the other house. This is the second secure house that they had. As I mentioned they had 3 secure houses. That's one of them that we are about to visit. Last one that we just visited, and we're about to hit this one. That an estimated cost of each of these houses, I do not know, but they are extremely expensive. We are in an extremely expensive area of the part of Jalisco. Let's walk into this place. So we have another late model vehicle. It's a Jeep. I actually see a casing right here. Oh, outside of the house, this is the casing, the bullet casings that they were confronting. Look at this. Look how big this casing is outside of the house.
this is what you will find. The confrontation was real, and they were basically retaliating from this particular location because we do not see no bullet holes on this location, possibly retaliating to somewhere else. Meanwhile, they were getting ambushed. Of course, this vehicle was bulletproof. As you see, this one is completely bulletproof from inside, bulletproof right here, inside of the vehicle. Brand new vehicle, Jeep, tinted windows, and bulletproof for the security of this man. So you have the one room that had 3 bedrooms right here. You have some clothing, military boots, some hygiene on top, 3 bunk beds. Have some pistachios right here. Look at the view that these guys had. It's just, you had a view of one of the safe houses right there, and then the view of another safe house that is on this side. Look and how rich this guy was. These properties are millions and millions of pesos, and he had the ability to have 3 of them with a gorgeous view of one of the most profitable places in the country. All this money made out of extortion, kidnapping, dismembering bodies, disappearing people, missing people in Mexico, and trafficking of illicit substances into the United States. This is the money that he invested on. Some of it, like a really small percentage of it. The bathrooms, look at this. 1 window broken. So it looks like this guy tried to get out from here. He broke the window, or I don't see no casings and no debris of gunshots through this wall. So it looks like he broke the window and he immediately tried to get out because they were getting ambushed. You can actually see that there was a retaliation from this particular place. A lot of bullet casings. The caliber, I don't even know what type of caliber this is. This is a huge caliber weapon, a big caliber weapon. It says 727 FO13 on the back. Huge caliber weapons. There was a retaliation from this place. Like, it looks like they were ambushed and they were completely surprised, and everybody started getting. Absolutely, you see the mask. This is cruel reality of what these people have done to our country. These were the safeguards and the sicarios for El Mencho and their security. This is how they were protecting themselves. And this is a holster of the high caliber weapons that they were carrying. This is the premises inside. This is the other room. You have more bunk beds right here. You have some perfume, blankets. They were immediately surprised and shocked. You have these prayer to Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary. The audacity of these people. A shocking thing. A cartel sicario protecting a psychopath, praying to the Virgin Mary and to Jesus right here. This tells you these people are completely psychopaths. How can you pray to Jesus and to the Virgin Mary and dedicate yourself to kidnapping, extortion, and killing? It's just, it just baffles me, the mindset of these individuals. On the compound where El Mencho was captured, it is a gated community that is extremely wealthy. The property prices over here must be extremely expensive. These 3 safe houses were the ones that he was safeguarding himself. This one behind me, it is the one that has more casings. It was part of his security team and his sicario team. You can actually see these bullet casings, enormous and big bullet casings of a high caliber weapon. This is how much power the CJNG cartel had to protect this individual. On the first house, you will see a lot of debris of medicine. The speculation it is that Nemesio Ceguera was sick. So there is a possibility that that house was in particular where he was located. This house right here in the middle, it tells you that possibly his security team, it was a strategy to safeguard him from this particular area on the entrance of the vehicle. And in the house in the middle is just debris of clothing, more of his security team that it was safeguarding him, that potentially the house on the top where you see the roundaround with the big gigantic statue of the horse, it was where he was located. It tells you the economy that this man has made, the millions and millions of dollars that he was making, that he had the audacity and the possibility to buy 3 houses just for a vacation time, just to safeguard himself. And he had 3 security houses with late model vehicles and high caliber weapons. Let's remember that under the Biden administration, this criminal organization grew 2 times bigger in technology, territory, economically, and in land, and particularly in artillery. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News, reporting from the epicenter of Ground Zero, where Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, cartel, kingpin, and drug lord, was captured.
Now, in the premises, you see casings. I made a post on X, and on that post, a lot of ignorant people started commentating because the casings that I show on the picture were burned casings and they were exploded or blown up, casings with bullets. What I was referencing to, it is this casing. This is a 50 caliber casing. And what I was referencing to also is this casing. This is an R15 casing. Why I was referencing to these 2 casings on a post that I made on X. The post that I made on X, and immediately why I took these. And there's a reason why I did it. I wanted to know where these bullets were made. And we need to understand that this is a bilateral problem. We cannot be hiding anymore this issue. We need to be realistic and we need to be honest with each other. These casings, if we go by the head on the top part, it shows initials and it shows numbers, which experts that I immediately send a picture of these casings, they told me these are the initials where the bullet was made and also ultimately the serial number. This casing was made in Lake City, Missouri, R15. 50 caliber casing was made in Anoka, Minnesota. It tells you the aggravated problem that we have and the enormous presence that it should be preoccupying of the organized crime and the cartel inside of the United States of America, with the infiltration of bullets and artillery and massive intelligence weapons from the United States to Mexico that has already been reported from the ports of Arizona and Texas, influxing massive artillery to the cartels and the organized crime. Let's understand that because of the Trump administration, this has enormously been decreased. Under the Biden administration, I have said it so many times, this criminal organization grew 2 times bigger and stronger on artillery, technology, and territory, and also in finances. But now, as you see, they're critically getting hurt by stopping at the U.S. borders and controlling the U.S. borders and securing the U.S. borders. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the United States government needs to dismantle what they already have inside. That is the enormous distribution to the consumer. And also, the most important thing, the distribution of illicit weapons into the hands of the cartel, to these terrorist organizations. This was critical and important information that we needed to bring for people to understand that the reality, it is a bilateral problem. Of course, the criminal organizations come from Mexico. And that is why they're designated as domestic terrorists and terrorist organizations worldwide. Shield of Americas. It is one of the most incredible things that has ever happened, and it is one of the most amazing things that it can happen in history. No president and no organization whatsoever. I don't care if you're left and right. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. This is about dismantling and eradicating criminal organizations. Of course, the far leftists and the far progressive mercenary liberals are going to say that this is because of the white man and the white supremacy trying to expand their imperialism into several Central and South American countries. That is their justification, as the speeches of Nicolas Maduro every morning, that is because of the Yankee, and it is because of the Yankee. As the speeches of Claudia Sheinbaum, that we are trying to protect our sovereignty and we're not collaborating with the United States of America, not letting them into our country of Mexico to operate and to basically dismember, and to operate and to basically destabilize the cartel and the organized crime. But there's a cruel reality to this. And the cruel reality, it is the Shield of Americas, a thing that happened this weekend. It is extremely critical and important that every president and the majority of the presidents of the continent of America, they are aligning to destroy the organized crime and the cartels. It's one incredible thing. They already took out one of the most vicious and atrocious leaders of a criminal organization like Menchos Cervantes el Mencho. It is extremely important to everybody to understand. A lot of us, we don't agree with the policies of ICE. We don't agree with the immigration policies right now inside of the United States of America. A lot of people do not agree. A lot of people agree. But on the other side of the fence, me as a Mexican, born and raised that I live over here, I can tell you something. This picture that you see behind me, it is in the middle of the Darien Gap, which they have been only 2 journalists who have crossed that jungle 4 times. And it is my colleague, Ben Berquam, and myself. We saw suffering. We saw women being raped. We saw children dying. We saw pregnant women, decomposed bodies of pregnant women. We saw decomposed bodies of migrants from all parts of the world. We saw men dying. We saw women suffering. We were in a confrontation with the heroic agents of Panama, battling and combating and fighting the organized crime and the criminal organization of El Clan del Golfo. And guess what? It is not happening right now. Children are not dying right now in the middle of the jungle. Our people are not suffering through the middle of the jungle. Women are not being raped in the middle of the jungle. Men are not dying in the middle of the jungle. El Clan del Golfo is not selling their tourist packages to enter the jungle and to cross through a place that it was not a route where the United Nations, the UNHCR, and OIM were profoundly involved in making millions of dollars out of human suffering. That it is not existing anymore. Evidence, the banners that El Clan del Golfo was giving out to every migrant and a tourist package making $350 to $370 per head, pushing them through inhumane conditions in the middle of the jungle, and the leftists justifying themselves that this is because of necessity. No, this is because of an agenda of an open borders, making people understand and normalizing our people to understand that it's okay to suffer and migrate through a jungle and die and get raped. And guess what? Because of secure borders, there's no more of this. In the middle of the mountain of death that I discovered these. Also, a shoe of a kid, of a 2-year-old Venezuelan kid who died drowning in the middle of the jungle. Children are not dying and children are not drowning right now at this moment. Whether you like it or not, whether we agree with these policies or we do not agree with these policies, our people are not dying right now. There's caravans in the south of the border. No, there's not. Multiple caravans I walked, 12 of them, where children were dehydrated. Some of them, they died of dehydration. There was an enormous presence of the cartel in the south border of Tapachula, trafficking humans all the way to the north borders, extracting them, kidnapping them, making huge tons of money of extortion towards them. Authorities making thousands and thousands of pesos over permits and over a multiple migration form that it was sold to the people that they had money. All of this was a humanitarian business that multiple organizations and governments were making millions of dollars out of it. And guess what, everybody? It is not there anymore. No person that is suffering right now migrating through a jungle, migrating through a caravan. Nobody's stopping you from migrating. I'm a migrant myself. Nobody's stopping me from going to Panama, from going to Colombia, from going to Venezuela, from going to Peru, to Costa Rica, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, Brazil. Nobody's stopping me. We need to educate our people to do a humane process, legal process, with multiple opportunities to do things regularly and legally. What the Biden administration did is educate our people to do things wrong. And they educated the world that it was okay to migrate through a jungle and that the only way that you can migrate through a better life, it was through suffering and almost dying and women being raped and abused. That was the education that we were receiving. And now people are being saved. And now children are not dying. And now the organized crime and the cartel, it is suffering. As a Mexican, our pride is extremely important. And believe me, we feel that how in the hell we need another government for our people and for our government to do their job? How do our government is not capable of fighting the cartels on their own? Why our extraction of information and our intelligence is on the other side of the border and not on our side? Because our government, it is not to be trusted, and nobody needs to be trusted. The Department of Treasury has exposed more than 30 politicians aligned with the political party of Morena. And trafficking of what she called the trafficking of gasoline. More than 1,500 laboratories have been dismantled. Hundreds of thousands of people are being missing. Hundreds of thousands of people are being missing every day. Every month, you see the count going up. But we have a president that says that everything is okay. Everything's good. Nothing is going wrong. Everything is all right. And you want a better slap in the face to all these pochos that they want to come over here and inform, or they want to tell us, the Mexican people, how we're thinking? This was a slap in the face on the weekend. This is El Menchos coffin of gold. Was it his coffin? Was he in there? Was he not? It is not even the case at this moment. It is the full example of how the government of Mexico was prioritizing the security of an individual who terrorized our country and the continent, and who flooded the whole continent with illicit substances that they were killing human beings on a daily basis. This is a golden coffin that he was protecting. This was a golden coffin that authorities were protecting this day. National Guard, authorities from the Marine, local authorities from the Army of Mexico were protecting the surroundings of over a justification, Omar Garcia Harfuch said, to protect the Mexican people. No, sir. Your obligation is to protect the Mexican people first. That is your obligation. Not to protect the criminals, not to protect the organized crime, not to protect the cartel. Your obligation is to protect the Mexican people. That is your number one obligation. Not to seal a man to terrorize our government and to terrorize our people, going down in a golden coffin. Meanwhile, the missing children and the missing people and the collective groups that they're searching for their family members, their bodies are being delivered in plastic black bags. Meanwhile, businesses are being extortioned. Meanwhile, not every businessman are being extracted and kidnapped. And you're protecting a criminal like this in a golden coffin. Meanwhile, he's being in a burial. It's unbelievable. The slap in the face that we receive. Everything is going back. And this is because of these policies that we are being normalized to accept that this is okay when it is not okay, ladies and gentlemen. We are being forced on a society today in Culiacan, Sinaloa. The children in elementary school, junior high school, and high school, what they see every day, it is a level of violence and authorities on convoys and military with long artillery guns. In the part of Michoacan and Guerrero, the farmers and the kids that they're farming, they're afraid for their lives to be kidnapped and to be forced to enter the organized crime and the cartel because of the lack of operation of our government, going in there and dismantling these criminal organizations to give them a better future. In elementary schools and high schools and the borders, they're being recruited to work for the organized crime and to cross illegal substances at a young age and to be sicarios in our streets. And now we are protecting a man that did that on a golden coffin. Meanwhile, the collective groups that they're searching for their family members, their bodies are being returned back on plastic black bags. Oh, yes, we're living in a normal world in Mexico. Oh, yes, complain about the Shield of Americas. Oh, yes, complaining about your progressive mercenary language of defense. If you don't live over here, you don't have a right to tell us how we feel. If you don't live over here every freaking day, you don't have a right to tell us how should we act. Your language is not going to work over here. This is creating hysteria. This is sensationalism. This is fear-mongering. This is xenophobic, transphobic, homophobic, pronoun-phobic. This is therianphobia. This is white supremacy. This is racist. This is fascist. This is narcissism. This is Zionism. We do not care about your language. We're trying to survive. And our people are trying to survive. There is a World Cup coming up in June, and Mexico is going to be the host of that. Just kilometers away from Akron Stadium, more than 500 plastic bags of human remains were found, and nobody cares. Nobody cares about their family members. Those family members were not protected. The collected groups of these women and the warrior women mothers that they go and search for their family members on mountain areas, they're not being protected by the military. Sometimes they go alone with the threat of possibly not coming back home because of the organized crime threatening them to not find their family members buried at a mass grave. But we have the drug lord and kingpin being buried in a golden coffin and being surrounded and protected by our military and our authorities. We have a president that says that dismembering a body, decapitating a head, terrorizing citizens. And what happened on the Sunday morning that El Mencho was captured, more than 500 tractor trailers burning Jalisco, multiple businesses burned, and the whole country possibly was burning the businesses and vehicles. That was not terrorism. Car bombs is not terrorism. Decapitating human beings is not terrorism. A cartel sicario in Sinaloa in a mountain, putting a decapitated head on top of a drone and flying it across the hemisphere, it is not terrorism. Everything that is terrorism, she completely changes. It minimizes the word terrorism. Because of what? Because of the infiltration of the United States into our country. She doesn't want that. And of course, whoever wants it, it is because they're betraying their own oath to our country. But that doesn't take away the fact that this is not terrorism. And when you use that justification, you're potentially and more obviously protecting the criminal organizations and justifying yourself that you're a bootlicker of the white man, that you're a vendepatrias, a sellout to your own people. And the majority of these people that they say these words, they don't live in our country. They live over there con los gringos. They live out of their capitalist dollar. They're typing out of their capitalist laptop or their capitalist iPhone 17. They go to their capitalist protests and they yell and they break some windows and then they go back home. They buy a combo number for a Carl's Jr. and they enjoy their evening going out at 9 o'clock at night, feeling safe in their apartment complexes and walking their little dog. Meanwhile, the real suffering and the real situations of our land and our country and our safety are over here. Where were you, all of you protesters, on this Sunday? Where were you, all of you that you were waving the Mexican flag over immigration policies this freaking Sunday that we were suffering? Where were you, the hundreds of thousands that you were protesting of the immigration policies on Sunday that they were burning local businesses, that they were hurting civilians, and they were hurting Mexicans in our country? Where in the hell were you? Nowhere to be seen. And you know why? Because this is about a political narrative. It is not about our country. It is about you winning elections. It is about you making a buck about our vulnerabilities and our suffering. It is about you making it to the midterms and winning your policies of transgenderism and progressive woke liberalism that you want to implement that ideology in the whole continent. It is not happening in Mexico. We're not vendepatrias because we live under three principles. And those three principles, you're trying to take it away from us. And it is not going to happen. You're trying to take away that everything we do it for family. We work for our family. And we will die for our family. Second of all, we are hard workers. We're capitalists by nature. It doesn't matter if we have to sell something on the corner of the street. We are going to make money to bring something back home, a food into the table. And third, it is not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. You're trying to take away God from us. And we are huge believers in God, all the way from Mexico, all the way to South America. And I've seen it in the middle of the jungle, where migrants are saying in the middle of the jungle, at the meantime that they know that they're going to cross one of the most dangerous rivers, and they say, with God, I will make it. You're trying to take away faith. This is about policies. It is not about fixing a problem. This is about a narrative, a political narrative. This is not about fixing a problem. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, to be honest to all of you, this shield of Americas, if it is to destroy these criminal organizations, believe me, we have been waiting for this all of our lives. To wake up and one day say, we're not a violent country anymore. Hoping that one day that will happen. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. I extended to 1 hour and 6 minutes. Thank you so much for joining in. God bless you all. Continue to watch every social media outlet that we are posting. Instagram, X, our YouTube channel is completely shadow banned. So just follow us wherever you want to follow us. Follow our network also, Real America's Voice News, if you want to. If not, that is okay. We're going to be traveling soon again to bring you the reality and truth of the news like no other network, from our perspective and from our optic. God bless you all. Follow Real America's Voice in Spanish, RAB en Español. Programs like Raymond Azar, you can follow them there. And all other programs that they are in RAB en Español, R-A-B in Spanish. Stay safe. And like we always say, people, God's plan, it is our